I've never been so blindsided in my life. 1 minute, I'm pulling into my driveway at 7:45 a.m. on a crisp October morning in 2024, ready to do my job as a city environmental inspector. The next, my neighbor Laura is dialing 911 like she's caught me plotting something sinister in broad daylight. Here's the kicker. She wasn't scared of me. She was terrified of what was in my equipment case. Ever get that gut punch feeling that someone's trying way too hard to shut you down because you're about to uncover something they're desperate to hide? Stick with Met, his story gets wild, and I want to hear if you've ever been set up like this in the comments. My name's Ethan, and I work for the city of Willow Creek, a quiet suburb in Oregon. That morning, I parked in front of my house on Cedar Lane, ready to run a routine air quality check listed on the public city schedule. I always show up early, call it a habito, calibrate my gear. Nothing screams threat like a guy in a city vest with a testing kit, right? Apparently, to Laura, it did. The second I stepped out of my truck, case in hand, she burst out of her house next door like a fire alarm went off. Her face was beet red, eyes wide with panic, locked on my equipment like it was a ticking bomb. "What are you doing with that gear at this hour?" she shouted, her finger trembling as she pointed at my case. Her voice had this sharp, frantic edge that stopped me cold. I've dealt with grumpy residents before, but this was next level. I mean, I wasn't blasting music or digging up her lawn, just setting up a standard air quality sensor. "Laura, it's routine city work," I said, keeping my tone calm, thinking she might have missed the memo about the scheduled test. "Air quality check, posted weeks ago." Her eyes narrowed, but not in annoyance, more like terror. "I don't care what's scheduled," she snapped, voice climbing. "You're here too early with suspicious equipment." She backed away like I was holding hazardous waste, which, ironically, we'd learn more about later. I opened my case to show her the gear, standard city-issued stuff, nothing shady. The air sampler whirred to life, and a red warning flashed on the screen. Laura froze, her breath catching. It wasn't about me being early. It was about what my sensor was picking up from her property. Before I could explain, she whipped out her phone, hands shaking, and started dialing 911 with this theatrical flair, making sure I saw every move. "I need officers at Cedar Lane now," she declared. "There's a man with unauthorized chemical equipment acting suspiciously." I just stood there, half amused, half baffled, watching her performance. Unauthorized? It's a city-issued air sensor, not some sci-fi gadget. As Laura paced her yard, ranting to the dispatcher, I noticed her eyes kept darting to her backyard, not my house, not the street, but her backyard. That raised a red flag. Meanwhile, neighbors started poking their heads out. Old Mrs. Clara, leaning on her cane, shuffled onto her porch, looking worried. A young couple, Mike and Sarah, stepped out with their toddler, and kids peered through windows. Laura's meltdown was turning our quiet street into a spectacle. "What's going on?" Clara called, her voice shaky. Laura spun toward her, pointing at me like I was a villain in a bad movie. "This man's got dangerous equipment. He's threatening our safety." The irony hit me hard. He was there to protect the neighborhood's air quality, and she was painting me as a terrorist. Officer Daniels rolled up in under 10 minutes, calm and professional, like he'd seen 100 neighbor spats. "Ma'am, you called about suspicious equipment?" he asked, glancing between us. Laura rushed him like he was her lifeline. "Officer, thank God. This guy's using illegal chemical devices at odd hours." She gestured wildly at my case. Daniels turned to me, neutral but sharp. "Sir, can you explain what you're doing?" I opened the case, showed him the sensors, and pulled up my permits on my phone. "City contract, badge scans, the works. Routine air quality test," I said. "All above board." He nodded, inspecting the gear. "Looks legit." "Ma'am, what's your specific concern?" That's when Laura's panic cracked open the truth. She wasn't scared of my schedule or my gear. She was terrified of what it might find. "Let me show you how it works," I offered Daniels, figuring a demo would clear things up. "No," Laura practically screamed, her voice breaking. "That's unnecessary. We need more authorization." Her desperation was glaring now, and even Daniels raised an eyebrow. I set up the sensor anyway, explaining each step as it calibrated. The readings were normal, near the street's light spikes from car exhaust. But when I aimed it toward Laura's backyard, the numbers shot up. We're talking toxic levels way beyond safe for a residential area. I double-checked, stunned. "That's concerning," I said, keeping my voice steady. "High readings from that direction." Laura went ghost white, staring at the screen like it was her worst nightmare. Daniel stepped closer. What kind of levels are we talking about? I showed him the data chemical signatures pointing to serious contamination. The sensors started beeping red, and neighbors murmured, edging closer. Laura lunged for it, yelling, "Turn that off. You can't test near my property." Her reaction was so unhinged. Even the neighbors started eyeing her suspiciously. Daniels held up a hand. "Ma'am, if there's an environmental hazard, this is a public safety issue." He radioed for an environmental specialist while the crowd grew, drawn by the alarms and Laura's frenzy. Clara shuffled forward, gripping her cane. "Officer, I've smelled something chemical from her yard for weeks, sweet, sickly, worse when it's warm." I nodded. "I've noticed it too, gardening. Couldn't place it until now." Laura turned on Clara, venom in her voice. "Your memory's not what it used to be, Clara. Stop spreading rumors." The crowd gasped at her audacity, bullying an elderly woman who'd lived here for decades. Sarah, the young mom, spoke up, voice trembling. "My son's been wheezing lately. I thought it was allergies." Laura's eyes flashed with fake concern. "Sarah, doesn't your husband want that promotion at the utility board? Be a shame if complaints cause trouble." The threat was blatant, and the crowd's murmurs turned angry. I couldn't stay quiet. "Laura, are you seriously threatening people to silence environmental concerns?" My voice carried, and neighbors nodded, their fear turning to defiance. A federal specialist, Dr. Carter, arrived with advanced monitors, syncing with my data. Laura's panic spiked as he set up. "These people are confused," she insisted. "There's no contamination." But Carter wasn't buying it. "These readings indicate a serious incident," he said, eyeing Laura. "We'll need resident statements." Just then, a pickup truck screeched to a stop, and a nervous guy in work clothes jumped out. "Is this about the turf job?" he blurted, scanning the crowd. "I'm Jake, from Evergreen Landscaping. I did work here 3 weeks ago and I can't keep quiet anymore." Laura's face crumpled. "Jake, our contract had confidentiality," she hissed, but her voice shook. Daniels cut in. "Environmental crimes void private contracts, ma'am." Jake squared his shoulders, guilt and anger mixing. "She ordered industrial-grade turf with toxic byproducts banned for homes. I warned her about kids, families. She didn't care, said her HOA role let her bypass rules." The crowd erupted, parents pulling kids closer. I pressed, "What exactly did she install?" Jake's answer hit like a bomb. "Synthetic turf with hazardous waste fillers, only legal for industrial sites with strict protocols. She paid double and threatened my business if I refused." Rachel, my wife, had been quietly digging through financial records on her tablet. She stepped forward, voice steady but fierce. "Laura, explain these transactions. $70,000 from waste disposal firms, memoed as residential placement." The crowd gasped. Laura wasn't just reckless, been paid to dump poison in our neighborhood. "That's private," Laura stammered, but Rachel was relentless. "Not in a federal investigation. You weren't buying turf, you were paid to hide illegal waste." Clara's voice cut through. "You sold our kids' health for $70,000. The betrayal stung everyone. Laura, cornered, tried flipping the script. "Ethan's been dumping chemicals to frame me," she cried, waving her phone with photos of evidence. But Daniels checked the metadata. Her pictures were from yesterday, not matching Jake's timeline. Rachel shut it down. "Ethan was at a conference in Portland during the install, hotel receipts, badge scans, all documented." Laura's conspiracy unraveled. Then Clara dropped the hammer. "I've got photos," she said, pulling out an envelope. "Trucks at her house, midnight, for weeks. Laura directing workers to bury containers." The images were crystal clear. Laura supervising illegal dumping, even testing soil depths. Laura broke, sobbing. "I needed the money, me husband's job loss, foreclosure looming." But her confession only fueled the crowd's rage. "You poisoned our kids' playground for a paycheck?" Mike roared. Carter's tests confirmed it. Contamination spread to 6 homes and the nearby school's storm drain. Laura's car, packed with bags of tainted soil and shredded documents, sealed her fate. Daniels cuffed her as she tried to flee, adding obstruction and endangerment charges. Months later, Laura got 36 months, restitution, and a lifetime HOA ban. She's out now, cleaning toxic sites in an orange jumpsuit. Poetic justice. Our neighborhood's cleaner than ever, with top-tier monitoring systems. Clara's photos and Rachel's financial sleuthing helped bust a multi-state dumping ring, saving dozens of communities. Kids play safely again, and we're tighter than ever, bonded by surviving Laura's betrayal. Here's where I need your take. Have you ever caught someone accusing you of their own crimes? What's the shadiest thing a trusted leader has done to you? Drop your stories below, hit like if this got your blood boiling, and subscribe for more real-life drama. Stay sharp, watch your neighbors, and let's keep the truth loud.